Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC-UGC live lecture. Dear friends, as you know that since our previous sessions we have been talking on PR as skill. PR means public relations. According to the definition of public relations, it is a planned, deliberate and sustained effort to establish relationship between the organization and public. Taking the definition into consideration as well as taking PR into daily lives as well as the professional life. In any of the field we are working today, we require PR, that is a strong public relationship. We have talked about PR's meaning as well as its function, its role in the society. Today we would be specifically talking on the role of PR at the time of crisis. In day-to-day life also we face problems and then we try to find out solution to the problems. PR is somewhat like a boon for finding the problems to the solution as well as how one should act when a crisis or a problem occurs in an organization. Dear friends, for this very discussion on PR at the time of crisis, we have again with us in our studios Mrs. Nirmal Bhatnagar. Mrs. Bhatnagar is a soft skill trainer as well as she has been advisor as well as consultant to various institutions and organizations, and I believe that she is the right person to talk on public relations. Specifically when we are talking about crisis, it is her forte. I believe that we would be getting deep insight into the topic. So without wasting any time, I would like to welcome our guest, Mrs. Nirmal Bhatnagar. Hello ma'am, welcome to the visit lecture.
Well, today we are going to talk in the series of public relations, a very important function of the PR people, which is how should they behave, how should they act at the time of any crisis. Now, what is crisis? Crisis is now being what you call termed in a bigger term, what we call tragedies, or you can call them something which is happening without our knowledge, something which comes in. We go into a lifestyle which is a very smooth lifestyle and we keep talking in that lifestyle, but suddenly somewhere something happens to disturb our normal lifestyle and we feel highly tense about it. This happens in organizations very often. The organizations are working very smoothly, there is suddenly something happens and the organization's image goes down. Take the case of Pepsi. You all know that when this Coca-Cola Pepsi thing came in and suddenly they found some sort of germs into it, and suddenly the image went down and people stopped, the sales crashed down and the company was in great trouble. This is called crisis. Now, crisis can touch any company. Today I am going to take it not in the personal way, maybe I give you some example from the personal side also, but I'll tell you how do we handle crisis in an organization when we are working there as a PR. Now, this is a regular lecture of PR, this is a regular part of PR. We do talk about this in public relations, and this is a very good exercise if you know how do you act as a PR when a crisis occurs. Now, the crisis to define is something which disturbs your normal lifestyle and creates an upheaval in your life, in your organization or a place wherever you are working. It could be in a country, it could be in world, anywhere. Now, to define crisis, we must say that crisis can come into your life anytime. You are working in an organization as a PR, you are doing an excellently good job, you have promoted the company's image very well, and suddenly something happens. It happens and the whole image that you have created for PR goes down. Take the case of an airlines. Hundreds and thousands of aeroplanes fly every day, and the airlines really looks after the passengers and everybody. Suddenly one air crash, and all the news around is we don't know how to fly the planes, they don't know how to handle the passengers, they do not know, they are like that, and the talk starts, and your entire image that you have made for them, the the reputation of the company falls down at 90 degrees altogether. Now, this happens not only in airlines, this happens in day-to-day life. This happens like you see tons and tons of roads being done, and suddenly one road or one bridge collapses. It could be technical reason, and the criticism is all types of criticism. People forget whatever you have done, your entire efficiency is forgotten, and everything that happens is, oh God, they know nothing, this is the worst company, this has nothing to do, they have no technicalities, they do not know anything about it, they are basically bad people, they are corrupt people, all sorts of criticism comes, which dashes down your entire reputation. Now, if this happens, this does happen, we all see it happening every day, we can't stop it. There are many times we can stop by vigilance, by our own better sooj-booj, something which we can stop a crisis to some extent, but we cannot say that we can control the crisis 100%. So what I am trying to bring to you is that crises do come, and if the crisis come, then how do we handle it? Now, there are three ways if we were to handle crisis. We'll divide it into three areas. First is pre-crisis, that is called anticipation. How do we anticipate? We go around the organization, we go around the building, we go around the places and see what sort of crisis can come. Can a machine break down? Can we sitting in a room and can the fan fall down? Can somebody sort of get hurt by falling down the staircase? Can something else happen? Can somebody touch a live wire and gets electrocuted? What do we do in these circumstances? That means there is no crisis, but we are creating crisis in our own mind, in our own department. That is called anticipating crisis. If this happens, what am I going to do? If this happens, how do I behave? Am I ready in case this happens? Will I be able to handle it or not handle it? This is called anticipation. Now, what do we do for anticipation? Number one, the first thing, if a crisis comes, we require police. That is, that we should, a PR should have on his or her diary the number of the nearest police station, should often go and meet the chief of the police around, have some sort of correlation with those people so that when you ring them up, when you talk to them, they are there for your rescue if a crisis happens. Number two, you require medical aid. Number of people, take our own case, we work in organization, we don't even know which is the nearest doctor. We don't even know where is the nearest hospital. We don't even know if we go to the hospital, how do we enter, where is the emergency gate, and all this delay can cause lot of problems. So we require during the anticipation that you should have good relations and should have full knowledge of the medical people around you. Which is the hospital nearby, how do you reach that hospital, which is the doctor concerned. Now, if there is a nearby doctor, what is his telephone number, where can you take, something happens to one of your colleagues or something happens to an employee, where can you take the person, not that you're hunting around, going around finding out who's who. So, second thing that we require is the medical thing. Then comes the third thing, do we have a medical aid in the office available? Practically every organization, whether they are school, college, office, anywhere, you will find that medical aid is available. There is always a first aid box lying somewhere. But it is generally not known to everybody where the first aid box is. So, generally what happens when there is a little crisis, when you require a medicine, when you require something from the medical box, you keep hunting, kiske paas hai, kahan hai, it's lock and key, where is the key and all that. So, availability of medical box, where is it, should be a part of the PR exercise. You should know that I can find a medical kit here and I can immediately get hold of that in case it is required. This forms the medical, what you call taking care. Then the third thing that you require, which is very, very important, is that do you have availability of transport? Do you have number of your people around, like the liftman's number, the number of the, what you call the chokidar, or the number of the drivers or something. These are very minor things that I am telling you, but as a PR, you have to go deep into everything. A PR is a person, public relations officer is a person who has to keep a track of everything. He is a know-how of everything that happens in an organization where he or she is working. So PR is not a very easy job to carry out. So please remember, on your diary you should have the number of the housekeepers, you should have the number of the liftman, the drivers, the availability of cars and things like that. That is transportation. Then comes the next point, that is you should have a list of the press people with you. Very necessary that all PR, because the only people who really give what you call boost to your tragedy or to anything, that crisis that happens, are the media. So the media people, you should have a complete list of who's who in media, who to ring up, who to get hold of, who to tell what is the right thing, what is the wrong thing, who to contact if you want to call all of them and brief them what has happened. So the media list should be very, very prominently available, and you should keep ringing up those people in the peace time off and on to maintain good relations with them, so that when you call them for something, they are available, they listen to you, you have friends with them, you try to make a communication link with those people. Not this that you have the number of Hindustan Times on your list, but you have never known who to ring up in Hindustan Times, who's the contact person, who's the correspondent who is covering your part of the area. But these are very, very small little things, but we call them in anticipation. We should have this. Another thing in anticipation which is very important is that PR should be taking rounds of the organization. When we say round, that is called physical going here and there. Sometimes you don't use the lift, you just go down the staircase to see, in case of emergency, in case the stairs are needed, are they free to go? Is there any door in between which is locked? Is somebody blocked the staircase? Generally in the bigger buildings you must have noticed that staircases are blocked. Now I'll take you back to the tragedy of Upar. Many of you don't know Delhi, but this tragedy is a very, very important tragedy. Now Upar is a cinema house in Delhi where a movie was being run, 100% full. It was the first day and the house was totally full. The doors generally of the movie, the gatekeepers, block them outside because they don't want people to get up in between and disturb the movie when the house full is there. On the top floor, that is on the balcony, there was a canteen, and the canteen wala had blocked the stairs by putting all his Pepsi and other things, the crates into the, nobody checked it ever. Suddenly there was a fire in the cinema house. People wanted to go out, they couldn't go out, they got choked. Those who were on the balcony and those who ran up from the balcony couldn't find place from the staircase to go. Lifts got blocked. Obviously lifts get blocked if something happens. So they had to break the window panes and jump from them. Half of them met the tragic end because of that. The road to the cinema was blocked with the car parks. There was no place for the fire brigade to come. Now all these things could have been avoided if there was a PR who had foresighted, anticipated, no, in case this happens, do we have something, do we have a rescue or not? So this is what we call anticipation. Suppose you go down to the factory and you find there is a oil leaking somewhere, or the floor is chikna somewhere and somebody could slip on it. Nobody has taken notice, it's a little drip going here and there, or there is a wire hanging somewhere. It is for the PR to ensure that these little things are checked so that no tragedy takes place, no crisis comes, no emergency comes. Moreover, to avoid emergency, number of other things could also have been done. So it means that a PR has to be, I'm sorry, the PR has to be slightly vigilant and should be roaming about in the organization, going here and there, going into the canteen, going into the cloakrooms, going around on the corridors, just keeping his eyes and ears open, be an observant person to ensure that nothing outward happens. This is also what we call anticipation. He anticipates कि अगर ऐसा हो गया तो क्या होगा, ऐसा हो गया तो क्या होगा. Now this is all called anticipation. But despite all anticipations, I tell you, tragedies do come, crisis does happen, emergencies do come, things do go wrong. Now, if exactly the things go wrong, this is the second part. We say, what do you do during the emergency? If a crisis comes, how do you behave? What do you do? The first thing is that you should be available, you should be on communication link so that you are intimated of tragedy or the crisis immediately. A PR should be alive on communication all the time. And whether it's night, it's day, you cannot switch off your telephones. You cannot say, oh, my car didn't have fuel, I couldn't come, this didn't happen, this didn't happen. No. A PR has to be an alert person who should be available 24 hours so that the intimation can reach PR without any delay. And now for this, first thing is, unless you're informed, suppose there is a fire in your office and something outward is happening, things are going back, the chowkidar there, instead of informing 10 more people, needs to ring up, sir, this has happened, what do I do? And you should rush, you should know who all to call, fire brigade people or the police people or the concerned people. Is the PR job. Not this that you go in the morning and your boss says, अरे भाई रात को तो आग लग गई, सारा कुछ जल गया, आप कहाँ थे? That means you are a bad PR person. You do not know your job at all. These are very minor things in PR profession, but they're very important. As a professional, you should know that you are on communication line with the people who are actually on the spot. Once you know what has happened, the first thing for PR is to reach the nearest point. I'm using the word nearest point of the tragedy. There are times you cannot reach the tragedy site because of certain problems. Like, suppose there is an air accident. Now you cannot reach the place where the air accident is, but definitely you can reach the airport from where the aircraft is taken off, or you can reach the nearest point, that is the airport, because most of the people are going to collect there and keep asking you what has happened, what has happened. So to handle them, the PR must reach the nearest point to the tragedy. And once the PR has reached, it could be a railway station, it could be your own office, because the moment something happens, the press is going to collect there. Not only the media is going to collect there, the people are going to start talking, the public collects and the public starts creating rumors. Somebody says, this has happened, यूं हो गया, वो हो गया, इन्होंने तो यूं कर ही नहीं रखा था. There are tons of things. So the whole emergency, whole crisis becomes voluminous. It becomes double trouble, and your image, which was to go down by few points, goes down 100%. So it is very necessary that a PR must reach the spot where the emergency has taken place or the crisis has taken place. We call it nearest spot. Now at that spot, the PR must ensure that agitated people are taken care of. People get very agitated because their near and dear ones are caught. Sometimes people get very agitated because something outward is happening, they don't know what is happening. So people start becoming hysteric. Make sure that they are calmed up. And how the calming is done is by information. Give them information. Tell them, आपको बता रहे हैं, ऐसे हुआ, ये हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है. Don't hide information. Give facts. If you don't give facts, people are going to fabricate stories. So, it is very necessary that a PR should be able to give the minimum facts, but facts, not the falsehood. नहीं नहीं कुछ नहीं हुआ, वो तो यूं था, वो तो लिफ्ट गिर गई अपने आप, हमने तो कुछ नहीं किया, भाई इस तरह था, there is some technical flaw, lift gir gayi, we are rescuing it out, we are coming out with it. That means give information as much as you can. Number 2, make available lines of communication. People want to ring up their people कि ये हो रहा है यहाँ ये हो रहा है. No, don't tell them फ़ोन में तो ताला बंद है, मैं तो अपना मोबाइल दूंगा नहीं, आप तो वहाँ जाइए, वहाँ फ़ोन पे जाके PCO में जाके फ़ोन करके आइए. No, be very kind, give your communication lines, make communications line available so that they are in a position to interact with the people who they want to interact with. Make them comfortable, make sure that they sit, they don't swarm around the desk which gives information. Try to put big boards where you can give information in case the tragedy is big. Take the case of Amitabh Bachchan's sickness. If you remember, long back when Amitabh Bachchan was very, very ill and lots of people were swarming around the hospital. They all wanted to know. Somebody said, no, he's already dead. Somebody said, no, no, he's in a very bad crisis. This has happened. All sorts of rumors were on. The doctors were wise enough. They were giving bulletins. So they put a bulletin board outside in which they said, this is the bulletin for such and such time. That people read and they got quiet. At least they had information and correct information. So please, during the crisis, PR must ensure that information, to whatever extent you want to give, goes the right way to the public, to the media, to people surrounding the area, so that rumors do not get around. Because you must have seen, कुछ भी होता है, अरे 20 bodies तो मैंने भी देखी हैं बाहर जाती हुई, though nothing much has happened, but ये तो हुआ ही है, ये तो हुआ ही है, क्योंकि later on when the truth comes out, people said ये लोग तो ऐसे बोलते थे, ये तो ऐसे है. Now the case of very recent incident, you all must be watching Haryana tragedy. There have been lots of crises here and there. All media has been focusing on one point or the other point or the other point. Surprisingly, I'm shocked there are no statements coming from the PR people. The PR requires to be done at this time to save the image of the organization of the state. They should come out and say, this has happened here, this has happened here, this has happened here. We are handling it like this. It would quieten down the opinion of the people who are watching the show from, distant places, all over the places. They should have the other version, the government version, the version of the authority. Then we come down to the next part in this. Make sure that the people who have gathered around there are not only looked after, but they're provided with medical aid, normal facilities like water, tea, etc. if you can, and if there is a facility available, please do it, so that they feel little calm and happy at that time. Because whatever you are doing at this time is an assurance which you will cash after the tragedy is over. So PR has a very vital role. He keeps his cool down, he doesn't lose his temper, he goes from person to person. Sir, can I help you out? Sir, don't get agitated, we are doing this. Sir, this is the position. As soon as we get to know more, I will come back personally and tell you. Sir, do you need any help? Sir, can I offer you some tea? Sir, can I do this? These are very, very minor things, but they go a long way. Try to think about it. Try to put it on yourself. Do you ever do it? Do you know that these are the things any human being would know has to be done? But we don't do it because nobody has made us conscious of this. These are regular things which need to be looked into. Then comes calling for a press conference. if there is lot of media and they are not satisfied, generally in a crisis situation, media is not satisfied with the whatever is talked by the PR people. They think that they are too junior to say anything. So they want to have, no, I want to meet the managing director, I want to meet the chairman, I want to meet the minister. It is always good to allow your top man to talk to the media. Convince your top man, sir, your word will have a lot of say. Do come and try to talk to the media and tell them whatever has happened. Give them whatever you want to give them, no falsehood, but give them the facts, because facts are going to come out in one way or the other later or soon. So allow them, the top men, to speak to the press. Then comes announcing of compensations. It is very necessary that compensation, whatever people announce in a rail tragedy or in any other tragedy or any other crisis, need to be announced at that very point. Don't delay in announcing the compensations. Compensations are not only to be announced but to be publicized also. Please remember what I am trying to tell you. Not only announced but publicized also. Lots and lots of people should know, yes, the company is going to do this for those who are caught in the tragedy. So it's the job of the PR again to ensure that whatever compensation, whatever gratitudes, whatever little facilities the company or the organization or the country is able to provide to the victims is properly publicized to the people, so that they know, yes, they are considered, they are going to do something about it. Now we come down to, during the crisis you cannot do much, except that when you are transported, PR should visit the place where the actual tragedy has occurred. When you go to that place, there are 3-4 things which are very necessary. People are already taking care of those who are injured. They are being rushed to the hospital. People who are lying dead there, they are also being taken care of. Take the case of a happening of the railway accident or something bigger, or a cyclone or something like that. It's all crisis. Ensure as a PR that everybody is taken care of. Even the dead bodies are taken care of. You must have seen that anybody, even a small part of a human body lying somewhere, is precious for somebody to whom it belongs. The family, it is very important, and it is very necessary that you treat it with proper care, not that just leave it as it is, कि अब इनका क्या करना है तो खत्म हो गए. No, you must have seen they have to be kept properly, proper coverage has to be given, proper treatment has to be given. These are the people who have to be, who are very precious to a certain section of people to whom they belong. Then we come down to those who are hospitalized. It's a PR's job. They are hospitalized, they are being taken care of, but a PR must visit the hospital, visit their houses, talk to the people in case they need something. There are times when you say, no, this is not available, phal nahi the, ye nahi tha. Don't worry about the money part at that time. A public relations officer can make an organization spend, can convince the top man, that is his equation in the company. So ensure that if they require something in the hospital, an extra medicine, an extra care, a specialist, or at home, things are provided. Things are taken care of. In case of death, make sure that your senior people go to the funeral. They attend the funeral, they are seen there. Now these are very, very stupid things. You may be thinking that what is this lady talking about? But this is all public relations. See, I'll tell you when we talk about post-crisis, how important these things become. Now the crisis is over. We are doing something, whatever we could do, we have done. We are trying to sort out things later on. So the third portion in which I bring you now is post-crisis. Now the crisis is over, but what have you gained by your behavior during the crisis? Number one, the companies, the people who are stuck or whose people were stuck with the tragedy will say, भाई कुछ भी हुआ, कंपनी वालों ने हमारा बड़ा साथ दिया, खड़े रहे यहाँ पर. Company people helped us out a lot. The PR people, the company's officers helped us a lot. They were all the time available for anything. They have looked after us very well. Now, these are the post remarks which help you back into your reputation. Give what you call a sort of support to your company to get back to its normal self. If you did not do all this during the crisis, if you forgot and you were too involved in yourself, अरे भाई मुसीबत आ गई है, मुसीबत आ गई. There are people who are looking after मुसीबत. As a PR, your job is to do human relations. Make sure that human relations are not forgotten. A PR's job is to go on doing human relations during crisis with concerned people, with affected people, people who are close and friends of the affected people. It is this which will bring you colors later on. So later on, people do talk, oh, that was such a big tragedy, but the company people really looked after. They were in the hospital, they transported us, they did this, they did that. Teeny weeny little things that you have done will be recalled by the families, by the people, by the surrounding people, and even by the press. If you give to the media the right time, right information, they will not indulge into critical analysis of your problem. Many times in the companies, in the organizations, when tragedies happen, when something stupid has happened, people hide, people do not share. And you know, the media is always into finding reports. So media has its own method. They'll talk to some person, other person, some person, and they get stories which are not correct stories. The result is that when these sort of things happen, later on there are critical articles and your company, your reputation is highly damaged. People say, आपने हमें पहले तो बताया ही नहीं, आपने तो हमें ये कहा ही नहीं, आपने तो हमें बताया नहीं. अब you go on asking the press people, आपने ऐसे क्यों लिख दिया, ये तो हुआ ही नहीं था, आपने ऐसे क्यों लिख दिया कि 50 लोग मर गए, ये तो मरे ही नहीं थे, हमारे तो 2 ही लोगों की ट्रेजेडी हुई थी. But did you ever care to interact with them? No, you did not. So PR becomes absolutely essential on the overall side when tragedy occurs, and the results are seen after the tragedy, that is in the post-tragedy period. Another thing very important, if you have announced some sort of compensations, if you have announced that you will give jobs to someone, please ensure as a PR that the company does whatever it has said. It does not go on delaying it. You know, first of all, it's very tragic to accept money or compensation for somebody who is no more in your family, somebody who's dead. It's a very painful thing to accept something against that person. And you call that person, अब यहाँ sign करो, अब यहाँ sign करो, अब इस टेबल पे जाओ, आज क्लर्क नहीं आया, आज ऑफिसर नहीं आया, आज साइन नहीं हुआ, अभी परसों आना, कल आना, 1 महीने के बाद आना, अभी फाइल नहीं मूव हुई. It's very painful, and this pain turns into criticism and damages your image altogether. So as a PR, it's your job to ensure whatever has been announced, whatever has been promised to the people that the company will do for them is implemented without any what you call hassles, without any bad feeling with the people who have to receive it. Many times it should be ensured that a check should be nicely sent to the house of the person, so that a person feels that he doesn't go through that trauma that he's coming, roaming about in the office from one person. Again, people are reminding him of the same thing. These are very stupid human relations if we are not able to do it. And the onus goes on PR and his assistants, his department, his people. And that is the reason we say that public relations is not the job of one person who is the PR. Public relations is the job of everybody working for an organization, right from the doorstep, that is from the peon to the top man. Because small little talks, small little compensations, small little way of handling people, human relations is one thing which takes your reputation, your company to the top level. You cannot have bad human relations and do crores worth of publicity and decide that your company will be known. No, your internal public, as I was telling you last time, that is your own employees, are the first hand information givers. The moment people say, अरे हमारी कंपनी में तो कुछ नहीं है, बकवास है, बड़े बॉस तो किसी से बात ही नहीं करते, उनको तो बात करने की तमीज़ नहीं है, किसी को बैठने को नहीं बोलते, you are gone, your reputation is gone. Hundreds of advertisements, your entire effort can go waste if you are not able to do it. Then we were at the post-tragedy and I was telling you compensation should be given in a very decent manner. Then another thing which is very important, that we do a post-mortem sitting in our own cabins. Call your whole staff, sit with them, find out, were we prepared to get the information on time? No, I didn't get information, I got it half an hour late. Why? What was the problem? Did people not have my phone number? Was my phone not working? Was something wrong somewhere? How much time did I take to reach the place? Was my car not working? Did I not find a taxi? I think we need a conveyance. So that is called post-mortem. Where did we go wrong? Did I know the hospital? Did I know how to talk to the people? Could I make available the water facilities? Could I have the few telephone connections open? Could I have the computer on or not? No, I could not. So I must ensure that these things have to be rectified for the next time if something occurs. You know, number of tragedies I can quote. High-fi buildings we create in towns, but we don't have snookers to reach the top. कभी भी tragedy हो सकती है. Suppose there is a fire, suppose there is a tragedy on the top floor. How do we reach them? We can't reach them. This is a very major example that happened in Delhi in Rajinder Place. A building, top building, the fire was on few floors, people go on running up, and then they had to send the helicopters to get the people out of that terrace. But the helicopter, the fan gave lot of air and the fire became more and more bad. So lot has to be thought. If this happens, what will we do? Now we all are sitting in a room, we don't know, something could happen here. If an earthquake comes, do we have enough let-outs? We all have firefighting equipment lying in the offices. Buildings have to have firefighting equipment, but years and years nobody looks at them, whether they are working, they are not working, whether the service, not service. We all go to malls, we all go to cinema houses. There are what you call these fans which we call exhaust fans, but how many of us notice whether they are working, they are not working? Do we ever have this thing to come and say to tell someone, भैया exhaust fan नहीं चल रहे आपके, इनको चलवाइए? There could be a tragedy. Not that, this is all called anticipation. So crisis can come not only unannounced, and for crisis I define it in my own language as uninvited guest. A person who just comes and you don't know what to do. Unless you are pre-prepared in your house कि आप थोड़ा सा घर में खाने पीने का एक्स्ट्रा सामान रखते हैं, कुछ थोड़ा बहुत एक्स्ट्रा चीज़ें रखते हैं, कोई गेस्ट आ गया तो उसके लिए एक एक्स्ट्रा रज़ाई रखते हैं, कुछ रखते हैं, you are at a loss. So tragedy or crisis is like an uninvited guest, a guest who just walks in without even your knowledge, comes in, and unless you have something to cover it up, unless you are एंटिसिपेटिंग कि भाई अगर अचानक कोई आ गया तो घर में आलू प्याज तो होना चाहिए, 1 किलो एक्स्ट्रा दाल तो होनी चाहिए, चावल तो होना चाहिए. अगर मैं यहाँ बैठा हूँ, सडनली अगर मेरे पैर में चोट लग जाए या मेरे दोस्त के पैर में चोट लग जाए, उसको ब्लीडिंग हो रही है, तो मेरे पास एक बैंडेड तो होनी चाहिए क्या मैं 2 बैंडेड्स खरीद के अपने बैग में नहीं रख सकता? These are very teeny weeny things in life, but crisis appears all the time. Like you are going to your college or your office, or you're going somewhere to work, and on the way you are stranded. Don't you think you should give 15 minutes slap कि भाई अगर रुक गया ट्रैफिक तो 15 मिनट पहले मैं घर से निकलूँ क्योंकि मुझे टाइम पर पहुँचना है. This is called anticipation. So students, what I'm trying to tell you today, that a public relations person, this is one topic we have been teaching in public relations from umpteen number of years, ever since we've started taking PR as a science, as a education. Now the countries have come into this knowledge and they have started disaster department on disasters. I think disaster departments should be there everywhere, in all offices, all over. Maybe you don't call them disaster, you call them crisis management departments. Or you should tell your PRs, you should have trained PRs who should know how to handle the situation. Somebody falls sick, somebody cuts his hand, somebody falls down, so many things can happen. Road accidents, you all see them happening every day. But are we prepared for the crisis? Do we know who to ring up immediately, how to call an ambulance, which is the nearest hospital, can we take, what is the law? No. These are the things which is very, very important in the profession of public relations. So public relations, the crisis is something which requires to be taught, which requires to be taken right from base level to the highest level. You may work for any organization, you may work for an NGO, you may work for multinational. Why people have PRs? The PRs should be very knowledgeable people. Their mind should be all the time working, thinking, ये हो गया तो कैसे करेंगे, ये हो गया तो कैसे करेंगे. And for that, they keep a diary in which they keep noting down all the relevant people. That is why we say a PR person should be a very communicative person, should be a social person who should know which is the fire brigade officer, which is the nearest police officer, which is the hospital, which is the doctor in my building. Go and meet the doctor sometime. Not that you want him immediately. Maybe sometimes when you require him, you know that there is a doctor I could require him. You should be able to talk to the liftman, you should talk to the chowkidar, you should be able to talk to the security people. No, a PR man has no inhibitions in life at all. He or she, this is one profession in which you have to socialize, you have to be a human being, because the entire base of PR depends on human communication, human relations. And we say, do to others as you would like them to do to you. You must know कि if मेरे साथ ऐसा हो जाए तो मैं क्या करूं, मुझे भी तो कुछ करना है, मेरे लिए लोगों को ऐसे करना चाहिए. Similarly, you should learn. So a PR at the time of crisis is one topic which generally is taken or skipped up in colleges and schools. I personally have a feeling, and I strongly feel, that every department, every course, every human beings should have knowledge of these little things. What is PR? How do we handle it? How do we handle PR at the time of crisis? And for that, how do we prepare ourselves as human beings? What sort of knowledge we should have? What are the little things? It's not that ये तो हर चीज़ में घुसते रहते हैं PR वाले, इनको तो हर चीज़ में ही घुसना होता है. They become, knowledge, they want to gain knowledge of everything happening in the organization. Not that they require that. It is necessary for PR people that they should know what is happening where and why. Like we have told you that PR people, now most of the people you must have seen in organizations, big organizations, there is a labor trouble. स्ट्राइक हो जाती है, पेन डाउन स्ट्राइक हो जाती है, लेबर बाहर आके नारे लगाने लगता है. भाई एक दिन में तो नारे लगाने का नहीं सोचा उन्होंने. Something must be brewing in their mind for last few months or few years or few days. So unless the PR is what you call in interaction with the union people, with the labor, how would they know what is itching them? How would he know what is troubling them? What is the thought? And if he or she is not able to clarify, he or she should bring it to the notice of the top person. Okay, sir, this is brewing in employees. Time has come that HR people or you yourself should try to settle it out, because it's going to boomerang one day and create a crisis. So crises sometimes do not occur on their own. They brew and gradually they go on developing, and one day they boomerang. Suddenly the crisis happens. So PR person in anticipation not only keeps tag of what you call what all has to be done, but also keep tag of the crisis that could happen. Like you find that ACs are running in summers in the rooms of the offices, and outside is terribly warm, and your coolers have not been cleaned. हो जाएंगे, कर देंगे, half of the summer is gone. People keep talking about it. अपने आप तो बैठे हैं, हमें तो ये करें. One day you will find they'll revolt against it. So before they revolt, things could be controlled. So what I'm trying to tell you by talking to you on these wayside things is that crisis of many times could be controlled, could be checked, could be brought if we are looking into the word called anticipation. If we mix up with people, if we find out how satisfied they are they happy about something, are they unhappy about something, what is the problem facing them? You know, human beings have problems, and if we are human, to some extent we can solve those problems. Many times the problems do not come to our notice, we keep overlooking them. हो जाएगा, कर देंगे, हो जाएगा, and suddenly you find one day there is a crisis. Make sure that things are anticipated. A PR must look into anticipation. So the most important part in crisis management or in crisis PR is that you should look for anticipation. Your eyes and ears should be working, you should be observant, you see कि यहाँ ये गड़बड़ इससे ये हो सकता है, इसको ठीक करा देते हैं, क्या फ़र्क पड़ गया. कैंटीन के अंदर बहुत गंद फैला हुआ है, कहीं ना कहीं लोग शोर मचाएंगे, कैंटीन को साफ करवा देते. You go and tell the right person, a right department कि भाई यहाँ ये है, देखो लोगों को बुरा लग रहा है, please get it done. So you're avoiding in anticipation something that could brew into a tragedy or brew into a small little problem. Now, crisis, as I'm trying to tell you, is something that occurs in our life practically every day, or not a day, at least sometimes or the other. कभी कुछ हो जाता है, कभी कुछ हो जाता है. समटाइम्स यू फाइंड कि आपके घर के अंदर कोई चीज़ ख़त्म हो गई, आपको अभी चाहिए, आपके पास है नहीं, रात हो गई है, आपके पास कोई चीज़ चाहिए, एक दवा है और नॉर्मल मेडिसिन है. Why can't we keep a little few medicines in the house if you have kids around? Why can't you do this? These are all anticipations. So crisis is not only confined to PR, crisis is confined to lifestyle. It is confined to every human being's life. It's a sort of human relations which could end into something that can create problems. Like you are angry with someone, things are brewing, you don't want to get into compromises, and they go on, खिंचता जा रहा है, and one day something bad happens. So before this happens, you know कि ये कहीं ना कहीं जाके ये फूटेगा घड़ा, तो अभी क्यों ना इसको हम सॉर्ट आउट कर लें. क्राइसिस सिर्फ ये है. क्राइसिस नीड्स टू बी हैंडल्ड. देयर शुड बी एन एंटिसिपेशन. ये हो सकता है, ये हो सकता है, ये हो सकता है. एंड वंस यू नो योर एंटिसिपेशन ड्यूरिंग द क्राइसिस, यू बिकम ए ह्यूमन बीइंग, act like human being. After crisis, post crisis, ensure that the promises are met. Ensure that your reputation, which has gone so far. One more thing about organizations I like to tell you here, that when the crisis happens in a big company, ensure that all your superfluous advertisements are withdrawn. Like Here you have said that a whole colony fell down in cyclone. घर गिर गए सारे. और next day आप say we are the best builders. It's going to create a big tamasha for your company. So there are so many things you have to handle. A PR person is a all-rounder. His mind is set, rolling. PR is a profession which requires a lot of work, lot of hard work, lot of observations. And I'm sure these little points that I bring to you are practical part of PR. Maybe you don't find them in books. Maybe you don't find them on lesson chart. But as a person who has acted in PR for last 40 years, I have experienced these, and I feel a successful PR can be a successful PR by just becoming little human and thinking about small little things that can happen here or there.
With this note, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much for giving us a productive session, and we have deeply understood how one should act and react at the time of the crisis within the organization or the company. Though we have a few minutes left with us, my important concern and question to you is, when we are talking about at the time of crisis also, a PR person should communicate regularly. So what should be the parameters or the guidelines while communicating? Because there should not be a wrong communication.
Yes.
So what should be the parameters?
Actually speaking, if you do not have information, be very honest and say we are trying to find out information as soon as we get. Till now I only know that this tragedy has happened, but sir, I do not know anything more. The moment I get the information, the first thing I'll come and tell you what has happened. We do not know whether it was a failure of the technical failure, it was a human failure, whether it was in nature calamity, whatever it was, I do not know. This much we know this has happened, and we'll share everything with you. Just bear with us, and I'm sure the media people bear with you. They know that you are there to communicate, but if they get that feeling that you are hiding yourself, abhi nahi, abhi batate, you're trying to avoid them, then they have no other method but to go to the people, sitting around. क्या हुआ था भैया, तुमने क्या देखा भैया, तुमने क्या देखा? And they gather stories from surrounding places, and these stories generally are overrated, and not only overrated, sometimes rumors come in. अरे यूं हुआ था और यूं हुआ था. You must have seen in any tragedy, rumors pick up a very important part, and many times I personally feel that when any tragedy comes, where are the PR people? That means that we lack in this country, we lack still. This profession is very new, just 2 decades old, and I tell you, we lack what is called PR professionals, who are professional PRs who can really take care of these things.
Definitely, one should maintain the integrity of one's profession, that is as a PR professional, as well as one should maintain the dignity of the organization for which the PR person is working. We hope that you might have liked this lecture. For giving your feedback, you can mail us at info.cc@nic.in. We would love to solve your queries if there are any. So please keep posting us, keep mailing us, and definitely keep watching us also, as very soon we are going to upload this lecture on YouTube for you for your better accessibility. So as I already said, we would be meeting again very soon. So take care. Goodbye. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.